You are listening to Lone Star Community Radio on 104.5 KCZW LP Conroe and 106.1 KZCCLP Conroe and worldwide on irlonestar.com.
Good morning, ladies and gentlemen. This is Rick Schissler, your Silver Fox advisor and host of the Weekly Business Hour. And I want to thank you for joining us today. I think we put together a wonderful show. Stay with us. You've got a lot of educational information. I think we've got two very powerful guests that will educate as well as entertain you. And we've got some good information I'd like to pass along to you. But before we get started, I want to remind you that in case something happens, you can't listen to the entire show, or you hear something you really like and you want to pass it on to someone, there's a podcast of every show if you haven't listened before. It's posted on YouTube at the Weekly Business Hour channel, typically posted 48 to 72 hours after the show. Go to that YouTube channel. In fact, you can subscribe there or go to Facebook as well. We have a Facebook page, set up an alert, and you'll be automatically notified when a show is posted. I always encourage people to check out the post because we try to put enough text there that gives you information about who the guests are, what we talked about, all the subject matter. So if you see something that interests you, you can plug in and listen to that part of the show, if not the entire show. So we're here to educate, inform, and hopefully entertain you a little bit. Today, we have, as I mentioned, two great guests. First of all, our special business leader guest is Ashley Easterwood, founder of Springwoods Marketing. I think you're going to find Ashley entertaining as well as very, very educational. She knows her business. Also joining us today, I'm glad to say, in the expert corner, we have our HR expert back, Lisa McElroy with Alegre HR. Lisa's been with us several times in the past. She always has wonderful information, good information about your HR, your human resources. And it's such an important topic, particularly when you have employees. I also want to mention that Lisa and her company are a sponsor of today's show. And again, I encourage you, if you have a question about your HR, go to their website, AlegreHR.com, and check it out. There's information available there. There's no cost. There's also contact information there. Reach out to these people. They know the HR business. In fact, their width and breadth covers the entire globe. They have experts all over the country, but they're here in our market. They serve small businesses, whether you've got 1 or 5 or 50 employees. HR is an important area, and I have seen in my practice so many businesses don't spend enough time or give it enough attention. Well, today in the show, let me run down what we've got. I've mentioned the two guests, and then we'll close today's show, as I typically try to do, with what I call a Silver Fox Tip of the Week. This week, I've entitled it, Lead Like the Founder You Are. So at this point, I encourage you, sit back, grab your pad and pencil, get ready to take some notes as we talk about business right here on the Weekly Business Hour. And I want to mention to you, there's a great seminar or workshop coming up here in the Houston area on November 30th. Now, it's an all-day seminar, and that's a Thursday, and I know a lot of you have to work on Thursday, but you may have an employee to send, or if you're thinking about starting a business, this would be particularly good for you. From 9 a.m. to 4:30, Houston Community College is having a financial workshop for small businesses that launch and growth about all things financial. They will provide speakers. They have great topics. I've looked at it. They do great seminars and workshops. So if you're thinking about going into business and kind of want to understand the whole gamut of finance and what's involved in starting a business, the resources available, I encourage you to go to the website for Houston Community College, the website for B-I-Z Connect in the Center for Entrepreneurship. Check it out. Look at the information they have. And the other thing they're doing out in that, this is on the west side of Houston, their campus out there off the Beltway at I-10. They have a business plan competition. I was a judge in that competition for several years. It's a fantastic way for new and even existing businesses to get involved, not only to make that presentation as you do in business competition, but to get some real education. They have an educational component, which might be a little unusual for business plan competitions, but it's a great way to take yourself, and if you have a team, 1 or more people working with you, get them involved, get some mentoring, because each team has a mentor assigned to it. It's the 2018 Houston Community College New Spring Business Plan Competition. And again, information is available there on the Houston Community College Biz Connect Center for Entrepreneurship website. I encourage you to check it out. Also, before we move on, I want to give you a little bit of information, silverfox.org. As you know, I'm a Silver Fox advisor. Silverfox.org, one of the things we do as Silver Fox advisors, we're each independent. We're associates of each other. We're out there mentoring and advising clients. We each have our own client base, and we look for people that we match up well with that are asking us to mentor, advise them, to help them grow their businesses in a way that's best for them, and in many cases, best for their family. I encourage you, check out the silverfox.org website, learn more about the services that are provided by us in the mentoring and advising field. Well, remember that the Weekly Business Hour is where Montgomery County and businesses throughout the entire world now, which is kind of interesting, come to talk about the latest in business news, ideas to improve their business, and to hear from some of our own local business leaders on how they have found success right here in Montgomery County, and in particular, Conroe, Texas. If you don't know, the fastest growing city in the United States, according to the latest census rolls. So we're right here in the middle of it, and hopefully we'll be able to share some of that information with you. Well, without further ado, I'm going to introduce our business leader guest today, and I'm very pleased to have this lady with us. I've got to know her a little bit. In fact, for all purposes, so I am able to be fair and square with everybody, I've actually engaged Ashley to help me. So obviously, I think a lot of her and the services that she provides. She's helping me in my consulting business. We're just starting out, but I'm already very excited about what I've heard so far, and I will report to you the results as we go along. Ashley Easterwood, founder of Springwoods Marketing. Ashley, welcome to the program.
Thank you.
Well, today we're going to talk all about Springwood Marketing, but particularly about the expertise you have, which I'm personally very impressed with. But to start with, talk to us and tell us what Springwood Marketing is.
So we're a full-service marketing company. We offer print and digital marketing services, and that includes a variety of services, website design, logo creation, social media management, search engine optimization. Those are just a few of the services that we offer.
So it sounds like you're a full-service marketing company, but particularly in the digital area, which was my particular need at the time we talked.
So we do some print advertising as well, but digital is really where people are going now. Most people have a website and they have some sort of social media presence. So we try to help companies, small to medium-sized companies in that area.
And you particularly, the idea to me is that a web presence. I mean, how important is that today in the world? I know that sounds silly, but from reading about statistics, there's still companies that don't even have a web presence. How important is it that we have a website?
I think it's extremely important. Typically, when you talk to someone and you hear about their business, the first thing that I do usually is pull up my phone and Google it. So if you don't have a website and you don't have a web presence, then they're not going to be able to find you. But what they may find is another company and choose that company instead of yours.
You know, that's a very good point. It's kind of like when we look for someone to service, we're like today, I was looking for a doctor. This is a personal story. And since I'm new to the area, I'm out there searching, right? I've asked for referrals, and I went in a particular magazine, and I found the only doctor in this particular field, called him up, checked him out. But if they hadn't been there, I would have ended up somewhere else. Mm-hmm. And that happens on the web all the time, I suspect.
Yes.
Got to be visible, got to be found. Well, talk to us about how we get found. I mean, I've heard SEO. I've been involved in projects and done that. But how do we take our small business, say a storefront business, a Main Street business, what's the basic formula, if you will, or process to be found?
Well, I would start with designing the website. I always start with the website, because if you don't have a good website for people to be directed to, then you can't really get your brand out there. So we build the website first, and then there's search engine optimization. There's also search engine marketing. We use both of those. Some companies use one or the other. The difference is search engine optimization is organic, and we send people to your website using blogs and social media. Search engine marketing is paid marketing. It's also digital, but things like Facebook Boost, we're paying so we know people are going to go there. I like to use both of those. So we're getting more people. And then we always use analytics to track what we're doing. So at the end of 3 months, we can see, did our blog post work? Did our social media post work? And if they didn't, we can make changes to our marketing plan.
You know, that's one of the things as a business advisor and former business owner that I think is really great about being in the web, social media, website, and whatnot, is there are analytics, there are tools available that you can really gauge what's working and what's not versus putting an ad in a newspaper or running a radio ad. you can really get some direct feedback on what's really working for you.
Exactly. So we send people to the website with the marketing, and you can always see that with the analytics. If you're putting an ad in a newspaper, which for certain industries is great, you only know when the phone rings if what you're doing is working. Part of search engine optimization is that we're sending traffic there, and that moves your website up on the Google searches. So it's not just, is the phone ringing, but the more people that we send there, the better your website's going to rank. So that's also important.
A lot of ingredients in making that cake, isn't there?
Definitely.
Well, let's back up a little bit to the website. One of the things, websites have a lot of pieces of putting them together. I mean, to me, you've got the graphical, you've got the text, you've got the functionality, the ease of moving through the site. Talk to us a little bit. I mean, what is most important if you had to pick one of those three as far as having a successful website?
I think the website needs to look professional. There's a lot of resources available now where you can build your own website. The question that I ask people is, should you build your own website? So for me, I want it to look professional. I also want it to be an expression of the company's brand. There's many different industries that I work with. I work with a lot of oil and gas companies, but also there's retail, churches. There's a lot of different images that we can portray to people. So your brand, your website needs to be representative of what you offer.
It's a good point. It's who we say we are, who we hope we are, right?
Mm-hmm.
That's interesting. Well, let me ask you this, and that's another thing. You mentioned or touched on the fact we can do our own, but in the few seconds we have left in this segment, one size fits all. Is that a true statement or not when it comes to websites?
I don't think so. I don't think you can really express your brand if you just do a one-size-fits-all type website. There's definitely themes that we start with, but then we need to express your brand.
Well, what you're saying is then the other day when I registered a new URL on GoDaddy and they offered me a free 1-month website, that's something maybe that won't really work as well as it should or could.
I don't think so. I mean, it's definitely better than not having a website at all, but if your budget allows, I definitely recommend hiring someone who is an expert in the field.
Well, it makes a lot of sense to me. Well, ladies and gentlemen, believe it or not, we're already through the first segment of our show today. We're going to take a break, and when we come back, we're going to talk to Ashley a little bit more about social media marketing and why, in my opinion, most, if not all businesses should engage in it. So please stay with us. We'll be right back with you.
Human resources play a huge role in today's business world and can be a real challenge for small businesses. Alegre is a premier option in small business HR solutions and needs. Alegre HR advisors provide help to small business owners by allowing them to focus on operational needs while providing solutions that address all areas of human resources. To find out more, contact Alegre HR advisors today at 281-620-0713 or visit AlegreHR.com.
Attention movie lovers, The Ticket Stub is a new radio show servicing Montgomery County that is meant for you. The Ticket Stub is available live every Thursday at noon on FM 104.5 and 106.1, as well as anytime on OurLoneStar.com. Connor and Dick will let you know what's coming out in the theater, what is worth streaming, and what's going on in the world of film. The Ticket Stub, your home for movie talk.
This is Rick Schissler, your Silver Fox advisor and host of the Weekly Business Hour. Thank you for rejoining us here in our segment. And just to remind you who might have just tuned in, Ashley Easterwood of Springwoods Marketing is with us. And we're talking particularly about the web presence of companies, social media marketing, all the things that work out there in the digital media world, which I find very intriguing as a business advisor and mentor. Quite frankly, I think this kind of advertising, which I'm a big, huge believer in PR, and it's still my favorite, but this right behind it, a close second, is digital because it's inexpensive in a sense. Not that you don't need print and all the other things, because to me it's a package, but so often, right, Ashley, we have a budget.
Right.
And print advertising, things get expensive real quick if it's done right. So is digital advertising your go-to in your business when someone has a very limited budget?
Absolutely. as I mentioned before, we do offer search engine marketing, so there is a little bit of a budget that's involved in that. But using digital marketing allows you to reach people who you would not reach otherwise, and so that's why I like to promote it with small businesses.
Yeah, well, it makes a lot of sense to me. And one of the things that pops in my head when it comes to digital, the digital world is fairly complex. I mean, it's as far as getting on Facebook or getting on, Twitter, or, I mean, it just goes on and on. There are all kinds of digital assets out there that you can connect with. But in order to maximize it, you've got to have an expertise. And as far as I can tell, that expertise has to be really up to speed. It changes constantly. Tell us about how you stay up with all those changes.
So I think it's my job to know exactly what's going on in the digital marketing world. I'm constantly researching. I subscribe to several newsletters from experts in the field, and I always make it a point to read what they have to say. I don't always use everything that they say, but it's important to know what other people are doing and what's working for other people.
Well, you hit on something that's very important, because I always encourage my clients to try to stay up with their business and their industries, and that's what you're doing by reading these newsletters and whatnot, probably very technical laden type information. But outsourcing in your industry, and we've talked about that on the show. In fact, just several weeks ago, Stephen King was here with Growth Force, and they're a great outsourcing company for accounting and financial planning and whatnot. Outsourcing to me is just almost a must-do for a small business in your field.
Right. There's a lot of time that goes into it, and part of that goes across all different types of businesses. But also, when I take on a new client in an industry that I haven't worked with before, I need to become an expert in their field as well. So while I'm getting newsletters that have to do with marketing, I also sign up for newsletters that are specific to their field, whether it's a law firm or insurance or a real estate company. So there's a lot of research that needs to be done. There's also a lot of planning that needs to be done. And most companies do not have the time to do that. So part of what I do is I meet with my clients on a monthly basis to kind of get an idea of what they want to promote. But then I set a schedule that they can review, and I take it from there. So they're always involved in the process as much as they want to be. Some want to be more involved than others. But we have a plan, and it's my job to make sure everything happens when it's supposed to happen. A lot of times people try to manage their social media on their own, and then they get busy, and 4 weeks pass by, and they haven't posted anything. So if someone hires me, that doesn't happen because I stick to the schedule.
You make an important point, and I guess I don't want to drive this nail too hard with potential business owners out there, or business owners, whether it be social media or accounting or any kind of function. The outsourcing success story is, a lot of it depends on not only the vendor we choose, but also the fact that that vendor does understand your business. So it's not like I can drop my books off or give you my URL to my website and say, go for it. I've got to take some time to to make sure you're aware, tell my story, talk about my business before you can effectively do your job. Is that a fair statement?
Yes. So usually when a client calls me, I get their website and some of their basic information, and it's just a 5-minute phone call. I just need to know what they want from me. And then I spend the time to research their business and see what's available online. If they don't have an online presence, that makes it a little bit more difficult for me, but I try to do my homework and then meet with them in person and really find out what they're about and where they want to go. Every business has their own set of goals that they're trying to attain by hiring someone to do their marketing. They have different budgets, and they just have different ideas. So I have to put in the time to do my research and then really meet with them and see where they want to go and how involved they want to be.
Well, and again, I would encourage everyone, whenever you hire an expert or hire an outsourcing, listen to what Ashley said. I mean, that is a ABC of what you need to do. It is not a drop and run situation, and your involvement, your feedback, and I'm not talking about micromanaging, but you need to communicate what it is you're trying to do. These folks actually implement what your plan is, and they make it fit in that field. So I had to make that statement. Do you have anything to add to it? Well, you do a great job of that and understand. One thing I want to touch on, because, and this is more of a business question, so many businesses that I deal with personally, or I meet people, or have even guests come in the studio, are working with spouses, and your spouse is a little bit or somewhat involved in your business.
Yes.
He does exactly what for you?
He does a lot of the behind the scenes type work. He's in corporate finance. He's also a CPA. So he handles a lot of the things that I don't want to deal with. I like to do the work and meet with clients, and he's handling the things that I kind of just push aside. So he's very involved in the business, more so now than he's ever been as we're growing. We just moved into a new office, and we've just hired another employee. And so he's had to do a lot of research for me. And I'm very glad to have his help because I'm one person and I haven't had time to do everything. So he's been very supportive.
Well, the proverbial question is, though, how do you make that work, the communication between spouses? I mean, it's one thing to be married to them. It's another thing to work with them. How do you guys make that work?
I think there's a respect issue. He knows that I have an idea and I have a direction and I'm very set on what I want to do. He's much more laid back than I am. So he kind of just takes the information that I give him and he tries to do what I need to have done at that time. But I really trust his opinion, so I think we both trust each other, and if I ask him to do something for me, I can just accept, the information and advice that he gives me.
Two key words I heard, trust and respect.
Yes.
Those are very important ingredients, aren't they?
Absolutely.
No doubt about it. Well, that sounds like a real success story right there. Well, let me ask you this. From our conversations that we had, because as I mentioned, for full disclosure, that I'm in the process of trying to work with your company, just started, I should say, I'm dedicated to making that work. I understand you take a very disciplined approach to what you do, and discipline in many areas of business, I think, is an important ingredient. But when I think of web and social media, I think of artsy, kind of out there, creative people who I've met some wonderfully creative people in my life, but a lot of times they're not disciplined. How important is it to be disciplined in the area you work?
I'm very disciplined, maybe a little bit too much, I'm not sure. I think that comes from the fact that I started as a technical writer. And so I have this very technical approach to what I do. And I am creative. But again, we have to have balance. And you'll hear me talk a lot about balance. But we need to have schedules to stick to. I hear way too often in my industry that people said something was going to be done at one time, and then it's 3 months later and they still haven't seen it. So I just don't want to be that company. I want to be reliable. And when I say I'm going to do something, I'm going to have it done at that time. That's just how I am as a person, not just in my business, but in all aspects of life.
Well, and I think, again, not to pat you on the back, but the deliverable from any outsourcing, any expert is so critical. And again, in a field like you're involved in, my impression and my experience has been very creative people in general. Anyone who's had a website built before over the last 10 plus years at any time, always sort of like pulling teeth to get it delivered. And you have told me, and so far have seen that when you say it's done, it's done. It's going to be done.
Right. Well, I feel like people, when they make the decision to call me, it's because they're excited about something. And so I don't want to tell them, that's great, it'll be ready in 4 months. They bring an enthusiasm to me, and I like to meet that and deliver things in a timely manner. Because I'm excited to have them as a new client, and I know they're excited to have this marketing plan and move forward. So I just want to meet their enthusiasm.
To me, there's nothing more fulfilling in the business world than watching a business successfully grow. And in your business, you're a direct part of that, being in the marketing field.
Right.
I think that's neat. Well, ladies and gentlemen, believe it or not, again, we're winding down. We've got a little bit of time left. Ashley, and I want to ask you, what does the future hold for you and your business? Where are y'all going?
Well, we've grown so much this past year, and it's my goal to bring on a couple new clients each month, and I am confident that that's going to happen. As I said, we have our office, and I have a new employee. I thought that she would come in and do some of the work while I would be out networking, but she's interested in going out with me, so I'm so excited to have her join us, and I think it's just going to help us continue to grow.
Well, it's an exciting time to be in business, exciting time for digital marketing. Ashley, I really can't thank you enough for taking time to join us today. It's a great field. It's a field every small business should at least dip their toe in and learn a little bit more, because I think it can help their businesses grow. If someone wants to get in touch with you and talk about business or talk about what you do particularly, what's the best way for them to do it?
They can visit my website, www.springwoodmarketing.com, or they can call me directly. There's also a contact page on my website where they can send me a message, and I will get back to them that same day.
Now, if they want to call you, what's that phone number?
I'm
sorry. Go ahead.
281-771-5702.
Well, thank you again so much. Ladies and gentlemen, this brings us to the bottom of the hour. Like I said, time is a fleeting thing, and we've got to use it wisely. We're going to go to the breaks, and when we come back, I'm happy to say that we've got one of our great experts in the Expert Corner. Lisa McElroy will join us, and we're going to talk about being thankful for HR. So please stay with us. We'll be right back with you.
Human resources play a huge role in today's business world and can be a real challenge for small businesses. Alegre is a premier option in small business HR solutions and needs. Alegre HR advisors provide help to small business owners by allowing them to focus on operational needs while providing solutions that address all areas of human resources. To find out more, contact Alegre HR advisors today at 281-620-0713 or visit alegrehr.com.
Remember to download the Lone Star Community Radio app from your Google Play Apple Store. Bring Montgomery County's community radio with you anywhere with your smartphone or tablet. If you are in the Conroe area, tune in on FM 104.5, 106.1. If you are on your computer, bookmark irlonestar.com as your internet radio station. Lone Star Community Radio, broadcasting 24/7 from the heart of downtown Conroe, Texas.
You are listening to the Weekly Business Hour, and this is Rick Schissler, your Silver Fox advisor and host of the Weekly Business Hour. Thanks for being with us today. We're in our third segment today, which we typically call our Expert Corner. And as I mentioned earlier, we have a great expert with us, one of our regulars, which I'm pleased to say, in the area of human resources. Lisa McElroy with Alegre HR has been kind enough to join us today, and also she's been kind enough to become one of the sponsors of the show. So, Lisa, welcome to the show.
Thank you.
Well, we're at that time of the year where we need to be thankful. We're in Thanksgiving week, and the holidays are upon us. And, you know, Lisa, you had a great idea. I'm going to give you full credit. Why don't we do some thanks? And I thought that was fantastic. So I hope everybody out there is willing to not only learn a little bit for their business, but maybe hear some interesting stories and reasons to be thankful for HR. Well, Lisa, why don't we just cue it up? And because you've got some great stories to share with us and talk about being thankful. You know, HR a lot of times doesn't get the credit it should. It's sort of one of those bothersome things if you're a manager or supervisor, right?
It can be.
Yeah.
It can be.
But
yes.
we need to thank everyone in our business, and I think it's a great way to kind of take a new look at it. Well, let's get rolling. Let's talk about some of the stories you have. Let's go with them.
Sure. Yeah, I pulled together a few anecdotes for reasons to be thankful for HR, hoping that they're entertaining, but there's also a moral to the story. Any particular topic you want to start with?
Well, I'll be frank. The one that really appealed to me, believe it or not, was the first one that you sent me, and that was going out of your way to meet employees, because that to me should be true in every circumstance for all of us that are supervisors, managers, or even fellow employees, that we need to go out of our way to meet particularly new people or people who are new to us. Let's put it that way.
Absolutely, yes. If we don't get to meet our employees, we don't get to learn as much about the business as we could and as we should. So I had joined a company in Houston, and one of my responsibilities, I was asked to realign human resources with the business rather than, just with the corporate management. So one of the first things that I looked into was whether we should go and visit with the guys who were located in some really hard to reach shore bases, particularly difficult to reach in Louisiana. And the feedback was fabulous after the first visit, but after we made it a regular event, it took some time because the guys rotated in and out. So it took us about 3.5 months to actually meet all of the employees because of the shift schedules. and of course because of HR's work schedule. But visiting Louisiana became everybody in the HR department's favorite thing to do, and it was kind of a wrestling match to see which person was going to get to go the next particular month. And the result of that was, in talking to the guys there in those out-of-the-way places, we found a nagging Department of Labor issue that could have been bad, but because we learned about it, we were able to step in and get it all corrected. And that's because of the employees.
You know, that's one of the things, and I guess there's been a name that's attached to that, probably several names, but, you know, management by walking around, the fact that I am out amongst people I work with, people I supervise, manage, whatever, or in your case, you support through HR, you learn the darndest things. I mean, very important things.
Talk.
And I think that's wonderful. And I encourage anyone who's listening in business that, again, has 1, 2, 3, 5, 20, 500 employees. If you're not already doing it and you don't have encouragement in your management team, if you have multiple supervisors, be out there just walking around, and whether it's HR or whatever. The most successful companies I personally have ever walked into or visited or been encouraged or spoke to or had a connection with, they practiced that at some level where they connected with employees on that kind of level. And like you said, the feedback you can get can be very important. And in this case, could have really cost the company some time, effort, and probably some money.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, my next favorite story in your list, obviously, is the one that followed behind it. Is roadkill. I mean, who can pass up a story about roadkill? I mean, that's a Texas tradition. I mean,
it's
right?
It's a Texas tradition, yeah, and it's a Louisiana tradition apparently as well. So I went first to visit our biggest shore base, and the guy who was our shore base manager was so happy that I was coming and that we were going to start, making this a routine event. But I wasn't sure if they were testing me, but he came out the front door to help me bring in my things from the car, and he said, "Hey, one of the guys hit a deer on his way into work this morning, and we field dressed it out back before he had to get on the chopper and go offshore. And we've got it in the crock pot, and we're going to have venison coubillon. And we make the best coubillon." And I had no idea. He was speaking French. I had no idea what he was talking about. But I was there. The guys were excited, and I didn't care what it was. I was going to be having venison coubillon, for the afternoon lunch. And it was 5-star cooking. And my folks back in Houston were a little bit, I think, close to mutiny when I told them what it was, what had happened, and that they were going to get to go every single month. But again, it all turned out great. But I think the faint of heart may have had some second thoughts there for a short while. But it was great.
Well, one of the things like that, those kind of situations, again, they just build what I call the spirit of an organization, and you've got that little myth or story added to the great storybook, which I think every company should grow a storybook. But the idea now that I want to go or I don't want to go, whatever category I fell in, because they're serving coubillon.
Yeah, exactly.
So what are you serving for lunch is my first question when you ask me if I want to take that assignment, right?
Yeah, and I mean, they took it seriously. They actually would cook for whoever was coming that day. They would make something special. They were out of the way, so it's not like they could have something catered in. There was no Jason's Deli or no place to order. So they cooked. It was wonderful.
Well, obviously, in that case, the HR department moved from somewhere in the middle or whatever it was in that company as far as importance and likability, et cetera. It's moving up to the top of the list. Well,
yes.
The next story that is a little complex for some folks, I think, and I had to read it a couple times, but it really does have some great lessons in it if you follow it and you step back, which I like to do, and it took place in the Middle East. But the fact is, you don't have to be in the Middle East. I mean, we all have bosses. We have people we have to report to, whether it be someone above us if we own the company, you got a stockholder, or you always have a government entity out there somewhere that can come in. Share with us that story, and everyone who's listening, keep the idea that you don't have to be doing business in the Middle East. It could be anywhere, and how you can overcome objections of people who really have some authority or some connection that you have to meet their goal, if you will, or meet their need. Talk to us about that story, because it really is a good one.
Oh, sure. sure. This was the one that I labeled Be Thankful for HR because they know the business inside and out. They're the A team because great HR does know the business inside and out. So this story actually came from a friend of mine, and at the time, this was a couple of years ago, he was a VP of HR for an oil field services company that did business in the Middle East, particularly it was Oman. And they had a series of events go wrong with a joint venture. Anything that could have gone wrong did. And because one of the things involved visas, he was asked to go and help basically save the company. And so ended up meeting with the general who was in charge of immigration for the country, and was given 60 days to accomplish a series of miracles, not just one, but a series. So day 54, he knew they weren't making this deadline. He had to go back to this general and explain exactly what had happened, that they were absolutely fully committed to making everything the way it ought to be, being compliant in every way. And during the course of that conversation, of course, he also worked in that his family had immigrated from Lebanon a couple of generations before, that his father was career U.S. military and, told some military brat growing up stories. And the general was serious the entire time, paused and asked, is this true? Have you truly done all these things within the past 54 days? Well, yes, it was true. He still looked really serious, and he pointed at the guy, and he said, you are the A team. I think our American guy was not really expecting that. And he said, you mean the American television show? And he goes, yeah, the one with George Papard. Yeah, Mr. T, the van. Yeah, the A-team. You're the A-team. So the general turned around to his colonel and said, give him your cell phone number and anything that the A-team needs within the next few days, you make sure that it happens. And so he accomplished his mission for sure. And the company was saved, literally. And it's because HR leadership kind of stuck their neck out and got outside their comfort zone, but already knew the business and was able to help save it.
To me, that's just such a wonderful story. We've taken American television, a hero, so to speak, a series that was obviously, it was very funny, if nothing else. And now this individual and his team and this project, they're the A team. I mean, think about that for life. They're the A team, right? To carry that around like a trophy, if you will. We've only got a little bit less than a minute left, but you've got one more story, if we can kind of share it quick. To me, it just talks about just so much about the world and technology, and that's the one about getting it done. I mean, it's a short story, but it just, when I read that, I in fact read it again. It's a great story about how when we need to get something done, there's a way to get it done. So please share that with us.
Oh, sure. I'll make it quick. HR has to absolutely get it done, whether there are rules and regulations, whether you're required to do it or whether it's the right thing to do. So there are no bank branches high in the mountains of Tajikistan in the villages. And we had an employee who was working in Iraq, and it was a minimum 60 days in country before Iraq would allow a bank account to be opened. Well, the guy had been working. We weren't going to make him wait 60-plus days to get a paycheck. That's not good for anybody. So we actually pulled together some approvals, some agreements. Everybody signed on a dotted line, said we're gonna try this. And it involved a couple of international wire transfers to a different employee's account. An employee picking up the cash at their bank in Afghanistan, taking it across the border, meeting a local elder from the village where the employee lived, and the village elder here was riding a horse. You can imagine a small mountain pony, and took it back up the mountain. And we received emails regularly from the employee who would confirm, yes, I received my pay. Thank you so much for doing this for me. And it worked for a couple of months until, well, about 3 months, until the guy could actually get his bank account open in Iraq. It was one of the more complicated ways to get somebody paid, I'll tell you.
Well, that is a great thankful for HR story, because if you think about it, with all this technology, we still have to rely on the mountain pony. We still got to rely on a human being taking it across the board. We still got to cash it.
And kindness.
All those things.
Just people being kind. Yeah.
Yes, very good. Well, Lisa, I wish you and your family a wonderful Thanksgiving, a thankful Thanksgiving, and a great holiday. And a thank you again for being part of our Expert Corner and part of our sponsorship of the show.
Oh, I love it. Thank you.
And
have a happy Thanksgiving.
If people are looking to get in touch with you, I don't want to forget, what's the best way for them to do that?
Sure. They can feel free to contact me. My direct number is 281-620-0713.
Thank you so much. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to take our last break for the day. And when we come back, I'm going to offer you my Silver Fox Advisor Tip of the Week, Lead Like the Founder You Are. So stay with us. We'll be right back with you.
Human resources play a huge role in today's business world and can be a real challenge for small businesses. Alegre is a premier option in small business HR solutions and needs. Alegre HR advisors provide help to small business owners by allowing them to focus on operational needs while providing solutions that address all areas of human resources. To find out more, contact Alegre HR advisors today at 281-620-0713 or visit alegrehr.com.
Listen in Mondays at noon to hear Conroe news from local nonprofits, businesses, upcoming events, Conroe Park events, news stories, and information that matters to you with your host, Margie Taylor of Taylorized PR. For more information about being a guest, visit irlonestar.com/Conroe Culture.
You are listening to the Weekly Business Hour, and this is Rick Schissler, your Silver Fox Advisor and host of the Weekly Business Hour. And we're in the last segment of today's show, and I want to thank you again if you've listened to the show, and remind you that if, in fact, you have not heard the entire show or you heard something you'd like to listen again, that there's a podcast posted every week in a variety of locations, from iTunes to Google Play to Facebook. We have our own page, and I encourage you to like it, and that way you get alerts of when the show's posted. And we also have our own channel on YouTube as well. Or you can just go to the irlonestar.com website. One thing I also want to remind you as we start into our final segment is to, if you've heard the show today and you're a local business, or even if you're not a local business, you'd like to be a sponsor of the show, then please reach out and talk to me about that. My email here at the station is Rick, R-I-C-K, at irlonestar.com. Love to talk to you about sponsorships. I think they're a very effective way to reach our business community, not just here in Conroe and Montgomery County, but the surrounding area, because the show is broadcast and heard throughout the world. Well, we're here to that part of the show. I like to share a few minutes with you on a thought I've had that hopefully will help you in your business, hopefully this week. And my Silver Fox Advisor Tip of the Week this week is lead like the founder you are. Well, obviously, I've made an assumption that you have founded your business. That is the case. That's great. But on the other hand, you may have just bought a business. So in a sense, you didn't find the business as the original founder that started on day one, but you bought a business. And to me, you've assumed that founder role. So I'm talking to everyone who owns the business, whether you're a sole proprietor or you have employees. You need to lead in your business like you're the founder, and you need to do that every day. And the first thing I think you have to ask yourself is, what kind of leader am I? You know, there are thousands, literally thousands of books, thousands of speakers, webinars, podcasts on leadership. It happens to be a field, and I've talked about this, I've written about it, maybe a little bit overdone, but and particularly when it comes to small business. I mean, there's a lot of theories, there's a lot of great books that motivate us. Some of our Silver Fox advisors are great on this topic of leadership. They particularly worked in larger enterprises, and there was a lot of training, a lot of experience, a lot of exposure that makes them, in my opinion, experts in the area of leadership. but I'm speaking to us that have small businesses. I started several small businesses, started from scratch, started with a partner in some cases, started by myself, and I also bought businesses. But I had to back up and say, okay, what kind of leader am I? And after the first business, I had a pretty good picture of that in my mind, so that when I took over, bought, or started the next business, I had a template, if you will, to work with. So you need to consider first what kind of leader you are. And one of the things I think that's so critical is you've got to have a clear values and visions for that business. Now, that value system hopefully will be your value system, but there are some situations where the values of a business might be a little bit different that need to be tweaked to the industry, to the products, and so on and so forth. But the vision is your vision. It's your vision of where the business is going to go. And you need to have a very, very clear picture of that before you can be the kind of leader that any business needs and deserves. You need to be willing to take on business, your business where you want to go without any fear. And that's one of my favorite expressions, have no fear. There's a lot of different ways to say that, but it's your business, your opportunity, your responsibility. You need to be able to run with it. Well, let me offer you 3 other areas that I think the opportunity for being a leader like a founder are. You remember that when you're in charge, when you own the place, when you owe the note, if you have a debt on the business, then all your decisions basically are made by you. Yes, as the business grows, you might have a number of folks. You may have a committee if you get so big, but bottom line is you, the leader, the founder of the company, typically, at least early on, are the ones making the decisions. And again, you should have no fear of someone second guessing you or trying to do it different. Just go do it. And this is the point I want to make first. Assume that you as an owner, even if you're not a primary or the main only owner, I've always approached business that I'm an owner, even if I work for somebody, and that ownership, founder state of mind all the time is important. Secondly, don't ever lose that passion. Do whatever you need to do to keep that passion, because you see it in the great businesses that have been around it. You see it in businesses like Facebook. I mean, you may agree or disagree with some of the things they do, but the leadership and the founder with Mark Zuckerberg and those other people, it comes out every day. It is one, to me, an important reasons they've been able to build a great business. And last but not least, make decisions like you have nothing to lose. Yes, obviously there are risks. There are things that you could lose, but take that approach. Be a warrior, as I say, as you run through your business. You don't have to be loud about it. In fact, you can be quite quiet about it, but make those decisions like you have nothing to lose. Don't push yourself into a corner. Don't put yourself in a box when you've started a business. It's yours. Make something of it. Well, please put a note on your calendar to join us again next Monday right here on irlonestar.com at 11 o'clock. Remember, you too, again, can sponsor the Weekly Business Hour. All you have to do, reach out and contact me, Rick at irlonestar.com for details. And again, look for a copy of the podcast of the show, many different locations. Also, I encourage you, and I failed to tell you during the show, if you've got a question or a comment about today's show, or you just got a business question about your own business, contact me, Rick at irlonestar.com, Rick at irlonestar.com. I want to communicate with you, our listeners. Thank you for joining us. Remember to stay in touch with us, what's happening here in Montgomery County, right here on Lone Star Community Radio. And until next week, stay engaged. Keep focused on what counts in your business.
Hey, this is Dick from Lone Star Community Radio. We have a big announcement for Lone Star Community Radio and our listeners. We have partnered with another TV station. That's right, you will be seeing Lone Star Community Radio content on KVQT, Channel 12 in the Houston area. Now is a great time to start a show or sponsor a show with Lone Star Community Radio. For more information on everything that is happening, visit us online at irlonestar.com or call the station at 936-647-3776 and leave a message. And we want to also wish everyone a safe and happy Thanksgiving.